Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm better.
Good.
Okay. Well, let me give a little intro. Welcome to our Saturday morning tea, where we discuss health information, news, education, and certification tips. Welcome to those of you who joining us on Clubhouse. I'm Clarice Warner, the girl with the pearls, the founder and education director of the Professional Reimbursement Network LLC, where coding education is key. And joining me today is my co-host and family member now, Mr. Jesse, the coding nurse. Sir, introduce yourself and tell the people all about you.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Jesse. I am the coding nurse, and I founded the coding nurse in July of 2020, and I right now is mainly geared to nurses and people who have some kind of clinical background to transition into medical coding and other HIM uh, type of occupations.
Cool. All right. Well, again, I want to shout out to our Clubhouse folks who've joined and those who are joining live on YouTube. What's been going on?
Uh,
Wait, before we get to that part, because that's when the tea. Look, I don't even have my tea in the room. I'm gonna have to go get my tea specifically for that tea. But I was looking through some things, and I guess we're waiting to hear what's going to happen as far as these COVID-19 vaccination mandates. So CMS is actually. So I don't know if you know CMS at one point mandated that all entities that receive CMS funding had to mandate the COVID-19 vaccination. And so it's been court cases and battles and all of that. So it's kind of split down the line. So 25 states are currently, I guess, in court, and we're waiting. I had a ping yesterday that they thought they would get some information, and I didn't hear anything else back. So I guess probably in the next couple of days we'll hear more about those 25 states. But the 25 states that weren't part of that, um, CMS is now reinstating the COVID-19 mandates. And they are stating that the folks need to be mandated by February 28th of 2022. Um, this includes California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. And it says that um, the compliance dates for the mandate have been modified. The staff must be vaccinated with their first dose by January 27th, 2022. I said, oh, okay. It's going to be a war in these
pretty
healthcare
much.
streets. It's going to be a war in these healthcare streets. Thoughts on
It
that?
is. What'd you say?
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I just this whole situation is just I cannot believe really I can't believe that it is 2022 and we are where we are still in terms of the rate of transmission, um, these variants. It's just I'm just so surprised that it has gotten to this point, and we all know, why? Because anytime you politicize something, it just becomes people just dig their heels in, and I don't know. I just don't know when it's going to be about just keeping people safe and healthy. I don't know, but I don't know because sooner or later we know it's going to go to the Supreme Court. We know that's where it's going to end up, and with the current, conservative leaning to the court, I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll just have to really wait and see.
Yeah, I think those other 25 states are actually part of that whole Supreme Court ruling. So that's what they're waiting on to see what that looks
I was
like.
already at the Supreme Court.
They're
Oh,
waiting to
wow.
hear. They're waiting to hear from their judgment on what that looks like. And they, again, I got a ping yesterday that they thought they were going to have some information, but I guess not. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that looks.
It is.
I know a friend of mine is also a nurse, and she's on. What was she on? I think she was on some social media, and there's a whole battle with nurses now. Excuse me. There's a whole battle with nurses and the traveling nurses and the compensation and just a whole mess. And I think you add this on top of that, it's going to be even bigger. And I don't know. Healthcare is going to be in for a rude awakening, unfortunately.
It is.
Well, let's see. In the world of coding,
Yes.
well, we talked about the changes in the CPC exam. I actually put out I did a little more digging and put another video out talking about how each of the sections are going to be further broken down. It's still going to be multiple choice. I was looking for that. Somebody had asked me about that, and I was like, well, they kind of leave the door open, but they have listed on their website that it's still going to be multiple choice. And then they listed the new section that's going to be cases, and they'll have 10 questions that are just cases, and it could be anything. The one thing that bothered me probably the most, and thank God I don't have to take this exam ever again, excuse me, is that they don't have the sections broken down. So it's just your questions are just all lumped in together. So you can't sit and say, oh, I'm in the anesthesia section and let me answer all of my anesthesia questions. Or, if you have either strong or strengths or weaknesses in certain areas, you can't tackle those areas because everything is all mixed together.
When I told you when we first talked about it, I really think that AAPC is trying to mirror their exam content like AHEMA, because AHEMA is like that. They don't have it broken down by sections. It's everything just like you can have a CPT question on cardiovascular system, then the next question can be about a complication of a catheter. This is like it's all over the place.
Yeah, but I that was, and for me that was kind of a strategy because whether you have a strength or weakness in a certain area, and because that time factor is no joke, and you're still only given like 2 minutes and 40 seconds per question the way it's broken down now, so you still have to battle the time when you're answering these questions. And so if you have areas that I know most people do it the opposite me, but most people go in and do the easy stuff first and go through and answer as quickly as they can, and then I'm from the I want that hard stuff first, and so let me tackle the hard stuff so I can breeze for the rest of the day. But you're not given the opportunity to do that because it's not broken down into sections. And so I think that's, I don't know. I don't know. Hey, Monique, how are you? Welcome.
Yeah. I'm good. How are you?
How you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Sorry, I'm just getting over COVID.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I have my vaccine and booster and still caught it a second time. So it is what it is.
Oh no. I had a flu shot. And I swear I can't talk. I had my vaccinations, I had my booster, and then I was like, okay, y'all, let's go get the flu shot. And I got the flu shot, and the next day I couldn't talk. I said, okay.
It'd be like that. Did you all hear that the AAPC was also shortening their test? They were taking 50 questions away, which takes about an hour away, and then adding, I think they said 7 open-ended questions.
So yeah, it's 100. I think it's 100. Well, for the CPC exam, because I think the other exams they're doing other things with them as well. But for the CPC exam, excuse me, it's 4 hours and 100 questions.
Yeah.
But on their website, it said multiple choice. Even the cases were multiple choice. But I don't know. I think they left the door open for that to ultimately change.
Okay.
in the white paper. I think they left that door open. And so maybe they're going to test that this year and see how it goes. But I was like, ooh. But just that whole not knowing what section. I mean, you'll know once you read the question, but ooh.
Yeah, I think that was a strategy for most, because I actually teach the CPC program, the curriculum for that for ABC. I'm like teach it, and that's one of the things that my students always loved was that it's broken into sections. So I think that's a really big part in how they master and learn the test, and also just time for when we do the mock test. That's part of their timing for it, so it'll definitely break up how they're learning the test.
Exactly. Yeah, I hate that they're doing that. Hate that they're doing that. Well, I'm glad you're doing okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
I just think that they're more in line with the way that they're honestly going to be more in line. Because when I think about even my my occupational testing, like for my nursing exam, like it's not broken down. It's just like all over.
Mm-hmm.
You just answer whatever comes up, and I just think AAPC is just going to be more in line with, other people with more standardized tests now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so unfortunate.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. We'll see what those numbers look like as far as their passage rates as these things progress, because that's gonna be tough.
Good morning.
Good morning.
But I don't use Clubhouse that much. I really only get on to listen to medical coders. I'm trying to figure this out. But just to piggyback on what y'all was saying about the test, like Monique, I teach the program as well. And I had surgery, so I'm on post-op, and I'm sitting here now trying to revamp my whole program of how I teach. Because I do think they're trying to get more in line with HEMA. And I think over the years, how they always have that competition, like AHEMA is better than AAPC. You have some jobs that only want to take a HEMA certification and they kind of look down on the AAPC. So I think that was a real big part of the move to change the test. But now, like you said, Clarice, everything's all jumbled together. So now you got to strategize on how do you prep these people for this test now when you have the same amount of time, for the 100 questions. So, and with this change, making the test, I say more difficult, it's just going to help the chances of people just getting certified to get a job, or is it still going to be the same outcome?
Right.
So this is going to be an interesting year, to say the least.
Right. I agree. Yeah, and thinking about that from the educator's perspective, we got to do a whole revamp on our system, or on our programs to help our students.
And how they set out the curriculum. I'm sorry, my twins are in here fighting.
Oh no.
But I mean, I think other than having the questions all in a section together, I don't think the preparation would change at all. I think at the end of the day, you still have to know the guidelines. You still have to know how to code certain scenarios. So I don't, just because now there's no digestive section, because there's no endocrine section, I don't think does that make it more difficult?
Well, as far as a test taking strategy, not necessarily knowledge based, but understanding how to take a multiple choice exam and having a strategy to quickly be able to answer the question. So if you're in a radiology section and that may not be a strength of yours, or it could be, then oh, I can get these out the way, or I can quickly answer these questions, versus, oh my God, I'm here almost at the end and I'm in a section that I don't but you don't know, because now everything is all jumbled in. So as you're going through, I don't even think it'll even be wise to even kind of jump around, because I know we, at least in my program, we've taught jump around, go to the places that you feel comfortable, or go to those areas that you're going to need more time. Well, if it's all bunched in there, you can't do that, and so that's gonna be hard.
But because it used to be for a HEMA, you could skip questions, you could mark the question and then come back to it at the end. So you can answer the questions that because you don't know what the question is, you get to it. So if it's a question that you think you might need some more time on, you can mark that and go to the next one. You might answer that in 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Then you do a once through. Then when you go back, then you notice you have questions that will take a little bit more time, but you've also freed up more time because you've answered all the ones that you know of that you can get out of the way fairly quickly.
Right. But then factor in that they now have this cases section that is open anything. And there are 10 of those. And so that's probably going to take a lot of time depending on what those cases look like.
Right. But isn't it going to be a separate section? Because in a HEMA, you have a multiple choice. Now, the cases are multiple choice too, but you have all of the questions first. Then when you finish that section, you go to the cases section. They don't have them all lumped in.
It didn't say that.
I think the difference is that it's kind of like a mindset thing. So when I took the CPC, I knew that cardiology takes me a little bit longer, whatever. So I could go work all my other sections. And then once I'm done with cardiology, I know mentally that I'm done with cardiology.
Right.
So you don't have that anymore, that buffer anymore to say, okay, I breeze through the surgery section and now I'm done with it. You don't know if another surgery. I think it's a mental thing for most people. And then when I took my CCS, because the HEMA does it so differently, where you have the multiple choice up front and then you have the case studies in the back, your mindset is different. You just got to make it through your multiple choice and hurry up and get to your cases in the back because you have to free code those. So I think it's teaching a different mindset is what's going to be a challenge as an educator now.
Yep. That whole strategy. So, I mean, like, to your point, Jesse, I think as far as, understanding the guidelines, all of those knowledge-based things, of course, those are the same. Nothing changes with that. But it's how to approach this exam for success is where those of us in the education world is going to have to revamp kind of our programs to get our folks successful with passage.
It's like Monique says, it's definitely a mindset that you have to have taking those different tests. And 80 to 90% of people are still taking the CPC by paper. So that also, with the buckling of the time that you try, because it's so time constrained. Outside of, knowing your guidelines and how to pick a code, it's all about strategically attacking the test. So, you give your students tips on how to go through the sections, for time management. So now that's out the window. So it's just all about revamping and reapproaching it from a different scenario. But because no one has taken it yet, you really don't know what to expect until people start taking the test.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see. But I think, it's all forward thinking, really moving into, years of past. So I get it. And people just have to adapt. But just from being an educator and seeing the high failure rate, you just want to make sure you do the best for your students as preparing them for this test. Because I know people are going blindsided. I'm like, what did y'all do? Like, no preparation. But now you really, really it's going to have to be prepared and in the mental state to take this test. It's no more just like skating through this. You're really going to have to, which I'm all for, because I want us to have really good, knowledgeable people in our industry and not people that just, I don't want to say taking up space, but people who really is putting forth the energy to have their knowledge and to come into this career on the right foot. So I understand where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it's something different. That's all.
I agree. Thank you, Shamir. Ivory and Kim, did you want to weigh in?
And I really think that's
Oh.
the intention of AAPC and AHIMA is kind of to clean up the field. We had an influx of certifications, and then we have AAPC, we do have people that can't pass the test. If you join their Facebook group, people take the test 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So I really think that they're cleaning up coding, so to speak, between just by some of the changes that they're making. And I think it's a good thing because, I've been coding for 25 years, and as a coder, you don't want to see your field kind of inundated with people that really can't code or people that don't have the intentions of coding. So I think it's just a shift to kind of clean up the coding world, in my opinion.
It's a weeding out process. I'm like you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a career, and hopefully people are approaching it that way, not just looking for a job that'll make them some money real quick. I mean,
Or work from home. I get that a lot.
Yeah, like I just want to work from home. Okay, but this is one of those careers where it's lifelong learning. You got to learn all the time, every day, you get new books every year, so there's always constant learning. And hopefully folks are prepared for that and married to that, if you will.
Well, I do have a comment, but Ivory has been on stage for a minute. So Ivory, do you have something you want to ask or contribute?
Yeah, Ivory and Kim came up. So
good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not a medical coder, but I was listening to your conversation earlier about the vaccine mandate and waiting on that. So I am in that space as I am a Clio Wave lab owner.
Okay.
And I would just like you guys' perspective on, because I don't hear a lot of people talk about this, but I think it worries me about retro audits, because when we look at the difference between what's surveillance testing and what's medically necessary, because with what's going on with the Supreme Court, if that does go through, as far as employers with 100 or more employees requiring their unvaccinated employees to get weekly testing, I know for a fact UHC has it, United Healthcare has it on their website clear that distinguishing surveillance testing from medically necessary testing. So I just was curious on what are you guys seeing with that, and any best practice that you recommend around that.
Oh, if you have something you want to add, Clarice, I can jump in.
Go. Look, you was going. I'm like, go.
Okay. So with you being a Clear Wave lab, there are certain exams that you can do without a doctor's order one time, especially in regards to COVID testing. So when you have someone come back to you for a second time, unless you have, and if you have a contract with, say, an organization that does surveillance testing, all of that would already be worked out. Who is going to provide the authorization for the testing? Or if they're going to do it privately, they will still have to after the first time, because that's clearly on the CMS website that there are certain tests that a Clear Wave lab can perform one time without a physician's order, one time without an order. So beyond that, you would need some kind of ongoing documentation from at least a doctor's note from that person to authorize the test. Then you would just keep a copy of that as your justification.
And that's what we're doing at the hospital. So I contract with a huge healthcare system out in Arizona. I actually am employed by another huge healthcare system in Georgia. And so we're treating those like spot accounts. So basically we have one order that's good for about 6 months to a year, depending on the policies of the hospital. And then that order people that aren't vaccinated. The hospital in Arizona mandated their vaccinations as of November 1st. And you have to have exemption. Very few people got exemption. So everybody is either vaccinated or I think it's 0.4% have an exemption. And then my hospital in Atlanta, we have not mandated vaccine yet. So they just require testing for COVID weekly.
Thank you. And I guess my more broader question is, which I should have clarified too. So I've gone through, if you guys are familiar with the HRSA for the uninsured plan. So say for instance, like I was speaking with a potential client this week, to where they're looking at, doing the weekly testing for their unvaccinated. And the majority of their employees do not have, they don't offer insurance coverage. So these people that I will be testing, more than likely 9.5 times out of 10 are uninsured. So the employer asked me, and I said, well, I don't know how that works. If they, even though, they are being tested, even though they uninsured, there is a fund for uninsured, but given that it's not medically necessary, it's just you want them tested every week, I don't know who absorbs that cost. I'm of the mindset of basically just direct, well, we're going to have a contract anyway for the service, but I don't know I guess that's the part I have to figure out. Am I able to build that uninsured government program, or is this something that technically the employer should be paying for because it is surveillance?
That is something.
Yeah, I think that would be a contract. Yep, I think that would be
Yeah.
a contract situation that they should pay.
Absolutely. Thank you, you guys. I appreciate that.
Because what happens is, and I'm glad you brought this point up, because in terms of auditing, believe me when I tell you, and Clarice can attest to this, the government is going to go through all of these tests. They're going to go through all of these encounters because they're keeping track. Nobody collects data like the government. Nobody. And they are going to see how many times this uninsured person was tested. They're going to see how many times this person who had Medicare was tested, and they're going to see why. They're going to want to see some other documentation other than you just have your couple codes that you use in your submission. Like, why? And that's where people are going to get into trouble, because there's going to be a whole lot of people going to have to be paid back. Because I've had people ask me questions. Well, because I've had people, especially in terms of CLIA labs. And I always tell people, if you're not credentialed by commercial insurance or through commercial insurance, don't test anybody with commercial insurance, because their timely filing limit is so much shorter than Medicare, Medicaid, and HRSA. So then they'll ask me, well, if someone has commercial insurance and I'm not credentialed, can't I just bill them through HRSA? No, you cannot. Because when you bill through HRSA, you also have to attest that you verified this person has no insurance. If that person has insurance and you have not verified it and you bill them under HRSA, if you get audited, you're going to have to pay back that money to the government.
And I'm glad you said that, because that has come up and I know you'll be speaking with the nursing group soon. But I it's crazy to say, I almost rather stay away from the insurance and just deal with HRSA or, my state Medicaid program, because the insurance companies are tricky. Like, say, for instance, I only know about United Healthcare's, that they have on their website, because I was dealing with a potential client. And they asked me the question, and I said, well, who's your insurance? What company can you carry your insurance with? They say United Healthcare. So I said, well, give me their number, because it's a self-insured program. Let me just see what's going on, da-da-da-da. And so they kind of directed me to their website. So I kind of let the employer know, listen, here, and, I've been explaining to different employers the difference. And so I like to tell people right now, the government doesn't have time to stop. We're in a crisis. So they're just paying out these claims.
That's right.
And they're going to come back.
Where things
they will.
They will come back. And they've already been mentioning that COVID tests are one of the highest laboratory tests that they have been seeing over the last year. And so they're watching that. They're taking that.
Definitely.
The next couple of years is going to be the year of the rack audits. Just watch and see.
Oh yeah. They're going to be ready for that.
What about the rack audits?
I said that's what this next couple of years is going to be. I do the ALJ meetings, the hearings for our hospital. So I sit on that and I testify in court, and they're slowly increasing. So over the next year or so, as we come out of COVID or whatever happens with COVID, RAC is going to be auditing everything.
So just as this is my last question, and I'll let you go. Just as for me, what do you guys, or what is, so that I'm covered in a way? I'm going through the credentialing process, but I'm of the notion, even once I get credentialed with the private insurances, I don't even know if I want to deal with them. I almost want to just tell insurance clients, listen, I still have a cash price, but I will help you. I was to do a submission to your insurance, or I will give you the paperwork to you submit to your insurance for. I just don't know how to, and I don't know if I'm able to do that if I'm actually credentialed with the insurance. I just don't know. I just don't want to be bothered with the retro audits, and I know they're coming.
So are
Well,
you personally credentialed with the insurance yourself? Because the one thing is they all have their own policies, and they all have, and so your contract will be very specific on what you can and cannot do as it relates to insurance. So
I'm credentialed with HRSA, and I'm credentialed through my state Medicaid, and I'm going through. So that's already done, and I'm going through the process of getting credentialed with each of the insurance companies. So right now, I haven't taken a claim. I haven't had anybody yet with the private insurance, but I'm just trying to figure out how do I handle that, even when I get it, whether I'm credentialed or not. I almost don't want to deal with it.
well, you're gonna have somebody that monitor that contract, so they know, so that you're making sure that you're following what the contractual obligations are for each one of those private payers.
And you have to also have your own compliance plan in effect too, where that if you're audited, you can pull your compliance plan that's in agreement or in accordance with state law as well too. So.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jesse, somebody wants to follow you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am so sorry. I did, but I'm being called into a meeting right now, so I have to come back with you all. But I do want to introduce that I have been selected as the newest member of the board of directors for the AAPC chapters for Region 4. But I'm listening and getting good feedback to take back to our meetings, and anything that you all may need or want to ask about the new testing or whatever the case is concerning AAPC, please do not hesitate to reach out and let me know, and I'll take that information back.
Definitely. Look, I got a list for you.
Okay, great. Unfortunately, I gotta jump off right now because we're getting ready to go into a meeting. But I love this, and I'll be back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, for those of you who are all on what's this? Clubhouse, don't forget to I forget. Don't forget to follow each other and connect and build these relationships that we all here together. Hey Mary, how are you? You're muted.
I think I muted myself. I'm sorry. How are y'all this morning?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. My question is, well, I'm an LPN of 16 years, and I just so happened to mistakenly hit ended up in I guess it was fate, So I ended up on this Clubhouse with Elviana and Tamara one morning. So I kind of started looking into being a clear wave lab director.
Okay.
And everything. So I submitted my paperwork, but I mean, it's like I'm gathering information from the groups on Facebook and everything. I'm kind of doing some research. But my question is, upon receiving my ClearWave certificate with that number, like good place for me to start, like what do I need to do to just begin? With that being said, that's one question. And then my next question is, I wanted to be familiar with the coding and everything. So where would you all suggest me start with that as well?
Okay, so when it comes to your steps in your Clear Lab, that's really beyond this group, because this is really for coding. In terms of your coding question, I can answer your second question.
Okay.
When it comes to coding, there you have to do your research, because if you're going to be, especially as it relates to COVID testing, it is very clear on the CMS website what codes you can use for ICD-10 CM codes and which codes you can use for your CPT codes and HCPCS codes. So you have to do your research. You have to go on the websites and find those specific codes that you can use for whatever type of testing you're doing as it relates to COVID.
Okay. Thank you.
And if you're not sure, just hire a biller.
Okay. Any specific like person, like anybody you would consider something like that or refer or something?
No, I'm a certified biller, so I wouldn't be recommending another biller to you. You have to.
I know that's right. Well, put yourself out there then, so we can talk.
All right.
Okay.
Let me go get my tea for real now.
That's right, Miss Clarice. Well, thank you so much. I'll be reaching out to you, Jesse. I think I messaged you on something because your name is always tagged in that Facebook group and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you know, as far as starting out, you know, not really having the funds from the business, like as far as you using your services, I mean, will we kind of like grow together, or would you require payment up front, or how does that work?
You can message, you can back channel me.
Okay. Now clarify, what does that mean? Like once I start doing testing and stuff and get the people tested, and then I'll come back to you and tell you, hey, I got this with this code.
No,
you
can back channel me for this conversation.
Okay.
Or just reach out to me. Just send me another message, because that's getting kind of beyond what this particular group is for.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
And I think we got Tamisha. Oh, Monique, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Are there any other coding groups like on Facebook that you all belong to? I only belong to the APC one, but I heard that there were some other good coding groups on Facebook as well too.
There's one. It's like something about American Coders. I'm gonna say. I'll send you the link. It's something about American Coders, and they provide information about everything and all kind of programs and all kinds of stuff. But I get a lot of questions from there, and then it actually provides me information, subject matter expert information from my videos. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, people want to know this, so let me let them know.
Okay.
I mean, Monique, I can only speak for myself, and this has nothing to do with Clarice.
Okay.
I don't follow any other group, because I have found a lot of these medical coding groups, like, they don't really address the real issues that are going on in coding. Like, they don't address these horrible coding programs that take people's money and don't really adequately prepare them for exams. And it's too much gatekeeping going on in medical coding.
I'm just using them for material. So I see where somebody may ask questions, or if I see a question that's being asked multiple times, I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
This may be something that somebody needs to know. Let me provide a video. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I'm like, Monique, you and I probably been in this game for the same amount of time. And it's real cliquish. It's real.
Absolutely.
It's real cliquish. And it's who you know. There's it, yeah. And so one thing for me was trying to get the exposure of the profession to people who had never heard. It's like, well, there's a whole business side of healthcare, and this opens up those doors. Yeah, you may have come in through the clinical side, like my dear friend, the coding nurse, but others may not have had or wanted anything to do with that side of it, and just wanted to be part of healthcare. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, there's money out here to be made. Come and make this money. But first you need education and you need certification.
Right. I think for old timers in coding, it's a matter of also figuring out when to recreate your coding, because you can't get a coding slump where it's like you're just coding, you're enjoying what you're doing. But there are so many avenues to coding. And I tell people this all the time, or people, even coders that take my refresher courses, I tell them all the time, coding has a world of opportunities. You can do absolutely anything in coding, from coding to auditing to whatever you choose to do, but it's all a matter of you being in connection with the right people and also being able to reinvent yourself when necessary.
That's the truth. That is the truth. Because you can take that coding certification, you can parlay that into, we were talking about this a few weeks ago. You have whole revenue integrity departments, you have the auditor section, you have compliance, you have all of those different areas that you can kind of use coding as a stepping stone to launch your professional. So, I mean, your career options are wide open. But again, you have to have the mindset that you want to learn more, because the more you know, the more you learn, the higher you can climb, and not just be complacent in where you are.
Right. Yeah.
We have Tamisha on the stage, so Tamisha, unmute yourself and let us know what's going on.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I have a billing and credentialing question. So I know that myself and every nurse entrepreneur in the game is trying to get with Jesse.
Jesse, you should have a long client list by now.
But my question is, if you hire a biller, can the biller or Jesse, do you also help with the credentialing of like all the different private insurances, or do we get with you after we're already credentialed?
In terms of billers only bill and verify eligibility if that's what you have hired them to do. Credentialing is its own separate entity, and they have credentialing specialists that just do credentialing. Now, as I've shared with the groups, I know a little bit I know some things about credentialing just because I've been in healthcare as long as I have, and I've been on the clinical side, but I'm not a credentialing expert. And that's why I always tell everybody to reach out to your MAC, to your Medicare administrative contractors, reach out to the provider, to these insurance plans directly and find out what the process is. But normally when you hire a biller, you've already been credentialed. You just need someone to process your claims for payment.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
And for me, I've set up practices, but I deal primarily in behavioral health. And for my behavioral health clients, I do credential. And so I set them up with the whole process of credentialing them, getting them set up. But we only work with Medicaid and Medicaid managed care. And then I bill for the services for them.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
All that other stuff, I'm like, that's way out of my league.
Because it can really get tricky, especially you have a lot of people who because everybody thinks an LLC is this they're one and the same. They're not. They're different types of LLCs. And if you have a single member versus a sole proprietor, you have to have a different MPI number, type of number, because a single member LLC is an organization, but a sole proprietor LLC is not an organization. That's an individual. Then if you have your lab set up and you get an MPI number for your lab, what a lot of people, if you have a type 1 MPI number, it's just like if you were a provider, like Clarice, you can attest to this. Like there are some, if you have a provider and the provider works for an organization, on that CMS 1500 is 2 MPI numbers. It's the provider's MPI number for their specific specialty. Then the organization that they're working for has their own MPI number. Correct. Because that's where the money goes. Correct. But what a lot of people don't understand is on the back end, the reason why you have that is because that individual provider has signed a reassignment of a benefits form. So the organization can get the money on their behalf. Exactly. See, that's why it's really, really tricky.
Exactly.
Okay, so just to clarify, because that's great information to know, I need to, because my business is set up as a single member LLC, I need to apply for 2 MPI numbers, one for my individual and one for my business.
when you set up your CLIA lab, so you have an NPI number for your CLIA lab?
I haven't applied for the NPI yet, but my CLIA lab application was submitted under my business. Yes.
Okay, because but it depends on how you set up your CLIA, your NPI when you go to apply for it. So what you can do, Tamisha, you already know I'm on Facebook. Just contact me.
I know, but I saw your name and I was like, I'm getting in the room to get me some nuggets.
Yeah, so
but I'll go ahead and reach out to you on Messenger.
Okay.
So one of my clients, she actually is a therapist, but she is starting a therapist group. So she has an NPI for herself as a therapist, and then she also has an NPI for her group, for the therapist that she will be hiring that will be working under her. And I'm credentialing everybody.
All right. Because what a lot of people like, it's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes in healthcare, period. And when you start talking about billing and credentialing, it's just an additional layer that you really, really have to be clear on. And it's just, you can't go out. You can go out willy-nilly, but it's going to come back to bite you when you realize, like, your money is like, where? Okay, well, how come I can't get it?
My hat's off to all the credentialers, because that is a job in a job in a job. It's crazy.
It is.
That's why I say I have a very small niche that I work with.
And if you don't know what you're doing, you can tie somebody's money up for a good while.
Yes.
But what I want to talk about is, I think that it is important for new coders to realize, or when they start working, to understand what it is their responsibility is when it comes to coding. And a lot of people, because of course you're excited when you get your first job or any job, because you think, okay, well, finally, okay, because everybody puts on their best show during the interview. I mean, every place is like Nirvana. They, get a foot massage at 12 noon every day, but once you get out of orientation and you start actually working on those charts, and you see, like, wait a minute, what is going on? You have to, people really have to be empowered to know that you have to follow the rules, because bad habits are very, very hard to get into, and they're extremely hard to break. And you don't want to work someplace that has bad habits, and you develop bad habits, and then you find yourself being very, very hard to employ later on down the line. Because can I tell, like, my last couple jobs, well, actually my last 4 jobs,
I got my tea. I'm ready. Come on.
They have just been absolute freaking nightmares. And it's like, I'm really just scratching my head. I just cannot figure it out. Like Clarice, like, case in point, like, I had gotten busy. That's why I didn't send you the emails. I really meant to.
No problem.
What is that? So, I got this CDI position. And can I tell you, because of this, I don't want another CDI position. I'm done out.
No, you were so excited about.
I was.
Oh,
but no. What? No. Because, for number one, like, what organizations cannot understand, you cannot provide coding instruction to a provider. Why would you do that? Why? You're asking to get in trouble, because then all they're going to say is, this is what they told me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I created 2 provider education documents. So my manager, who is credentialed and certified, first of all, what a lot of people don't understand is CDI and coding are not the same. They're really not even in the same department, for real. So she really should not be she should not have the final say-so over me. We should be on the same level, and we have a conversation. But anyway, that's how they have it structured. Fine. I created a provider education document that provided clinical information about disease processes. The only information I put on there about ACCs was which category of ACCs these particular conditions map to. That's not any instruction. That's just because they're in an ACC environment, so you need to know. So that's not anything else. She took it and created like all of my clinical examples in the document. She went and found codes to match to them. And then she tells me, so she met with 2 doctors. Then she sends me an email with the updates that she made. Then says to me, look this document over for typos or any concerns. Now I went from the CDI to her assistant now.
Sorry.
So I said to her, I typed back, I said, you have turned a provider education document into a coding education document. You're in charge, you do what you want to do. And I sent that email to myself about 50,000. I'm surprised I ain't forwarded it to you. Because I'm not getting, when this blows up, I'm not being, no. Oh. Because the thing is, providers are never meant to be coders, and they will never do it right because they're not a coder.
No, they don't have they're clinical.
And that's not even what you want them to do.
You don't. You want them to treat their patients.
Exactly. And you want them to, because I told her, I said, what you don't understand is like, you're sitting here, like you're so busy trying to get them to code when truth be told, as a coder, you never code. You never use a code that a provider uses. You're only allowed to use their diagnostic statement to code. If they put the wrong code, that's the wrong code. You don't pay that any mind. And I told her, I said, but once again, I said, where I work, they had a policy. You do not use provider codes. You use their diagnostic statement. I said, but you don't have a policy that says that. This is why now we have to send these queries for them, and they always pick the wrong codes. This is why they never get to causal relationship, because they're not coders.
I have that now that's one of the issues I have in this whole behavioral health space, because they all want to use the DSM-5 codes. And I'm like, sorry, ma'am, if you don't write down what the diagnosis is, right. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Just put major depression.
Right. Just tell me what's going on with this patient.
And I'll find the code for
right.
it. That's all I want you to do.
That's all I need. Oh, well, the DSM-5 says this and blah, blah, blah. Ma'am and sir.
and the thing is, and all you're trying to do is save them from themselves. That's all.
Really?
Because what they don't understand is, okay, you keep that same energy when this MAC contracted company rips your claim to pieces and you have to pay that money back.
Well,
all right, go right ahead.
Go ahead. Or when they see that your stuff is all messed up and you on 100% review, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And see how long your revenue, see how slow your revenue is then. You cannot save these people from themselves. They are just intent to throw themselves in front of the train. And in 2022, I'm going to let them. I'm done fighting.
Sir. Not you gonna let them. You're just moving out the way.
Exactly. I have a whole shift. I'm going to get me a government contract. I'm going to be the one to audit. And I got a whole list of people I want to volunteer to audit.
Sir. So you have some low-hanging fruit. You already know.
Exactly. Look, you want some names, I know where you can start to look.
Sorry.
Let me add to your list, Jesse.
What'd you say?
That I want to add on to your list.
There you go. It is, when I tell you, it is a daggone nightmare out in these daggone reimbursement streets.
I know that's right. All right, Jesse, we need to talk about this whole government contract. Well, I know you were gonna do the risk adjustment, but we can bump that to a whole auditing thing.
You know what? We would need to, and I would love it. And you know what I would like to do even more importantly? I would like to hire brand new coders.
I would like to train the coders, hire the coders that we train.
Well, no. I want when I start doing auditing, when I get my contract, I want to start early. I want to hire me like a good 6 people who just have their certification, never had a job. Train them the right way, because when I tell you, how you start out is how it is. You have to catch up. I will tell anybody, Inovalon was the best thing that ever happened to me. Those people were about a book, and they were policy driven. They had a policy for everything. They had a manual for everything. It was the best place I could have ever worked.
And the auditors that I have that work for me or contract through me, I taught them. So I know. I'm comfortable. I'd be like, oh, I do my periodic spot audits, but for the most part, I rest assured that everything is everything.
Because I don't want to have to, like you said, I want to have to do a spot check and see something crazy. Like, wait a minute.
Like, oh my God, what are they doing?
And then they'd be like, well, I thought it. What?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, 2022. I see it.
Oh my gosh. And I'm telling you, like, I could just in testing alone, you can audit, you could start now, you wouldn't be finished at least 25% until June. You know how much testing is going on now? And it's just all over the place.
All over the place.
And it's so easy. Like right on the website is specific codes. This might maybe 5 or 6 Z codes you use for COVID testing. Then there's the procedure codes. And then you had these people. And what I want to mention to you, Clarice, I'm going to get your feedback, because a lot of people are using this additional code G2023. The way it is written, it's a specimen collection fee. The way it is written in the book is it is for if you go to a patient's home and collect a specimen. A lot of people are billing that just doing drive-by testing. So I'm like, well, if the person if you haven't been to the person's house, how could you bill that?
Billing that?
And I talked to a biller who she said, and when I asked her, I said, well, how could they do that? Well, you know what she told me? She said they're paying it. But
God.
I'm like, what does that mean? They'll pay, but they're gonna come back and want their money. So then I did some research. So the research I found was that there was, you know how they have these interim rulings. So the interim ruling was CMS is not really clear on the interpretation. So I don't know whether it's one of those gray areas that people can kind of get away with, but as it's written, it's very clear how it's written. But I think because of this, what they call public health emergency, they are kind of like loosening some of the reins. But I need to hear from somebody official, like, yes, you can, or no, you can.
Okay. I got it on my list. You know how I am. Once you charge me with something, I'm bringing it back.
Because everybody, and it's an additional 20. I think it's like $20 and 20 something cents, or $23.
Okay.
Roundabout. But that might sound small, but what happens?
But you got hundreds of tests.
Yes.
Yes, that's not a small anything.
Exactly. And I know people who are testing like 1,000 people a week.
Ooh. Is that why all of these like clear lab places are sprouting up? Is that where the money is for that? Oh,
it's great money. I mean, I've heard of nurses making $70,000 in a month, or billing $70,000 in a month.
Wow.
And it's good. It's good if that documentation is right. Perfect.
That's the only thing I'm nervous. I'm nervous. The compliance officer in me is nervous.
Exactly.
Because, it's easy to get it started. It's easy to sure, come on in. We'll let's get you started. Let's get you credentialed. Let's get you, and then if you don't have your documentation, you don't have your I'm nervous.
And that's why you can't just, I don't accept I can't bill for Blue Cross Blue Shield, but I can bill you for under the uninsured. No, you cannot. No.
Oh yeah.
Because what people don't understand, and they don't realize it, that Medicare exclusion list is real.
Real. And it's lengthy and it's long. And that's your whole livelihood. That's everything. And they putting folks in jail left and right. CEOs, clinicians, everybody, billers.
As they say, mess around and find out.
The Department of Justice is not playing with anybody in these healthcare streets at all.
And the way all the money that the government has spent on COVID, you think they're not gonna audit this? This is gonna be audited to death. And it's going. And I said in one of my groups, I said, next year is gonna start officially, because they like to go back 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's a start.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said next year they're gonna start auditing 2020. Watch. And it's just going to be a snowball effect.
Like Monique said, they gonna make money hand over foot.
Yeah.
I want.
Because you're gonna. Go ahead, Monique.
I'm gonna start applying for rack positions right now.
No. Create your
own position. That's right. Create your own rack corporation.
Right
now.
Because
these people don't have a stitch of documentation.
Or they haven't talked to the people to get a understanding. Like you said, we've learned from lots of folks. They don't have policies, they don't have procedures, they don't have none of those things. And it's like, really? How are you operating?
And people keep telling me, "Oh, I'm following pandemic rules." No.
What'd you say?
Apply.
What'd you say, Monique? I didn't hear that.
People are telling me, "Oh, we're following pandemic rules." No, that applies to clinicians and hospitals that are, facing a lot of patients and, different things like that. That doesn't mean that you can just make up coding rules and reimbursement rules.
Right.
No. I mean, it's open season out here for these billers if they really know it.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Because a biller gets off the hook, truth be told, in a lot of instances, because I've read some of the documentation that these people have to sign, and it says even if you use a third-party biller, you are still ultimately responsible.
You're ultimately responsible. That's right. That's right.
So you can go ahead and tell these people, "Oh, go ahead and add that. Oh, yeah, I heard that they're paying for this." Okay, are they paying for it, or are you entitled to it? It's two different things.
Right. Between COVID testing and just the sequencing of COVID as principle to get that extra COVID money and HCCs, it's going to be an interesting next 2 years, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you have people who are, because you have some people who are doing who can do PCR testing. We know PCR pays more than rapid.
Right.
So if someone if they have a positive rapid, why would you do a positive PCR? Why would you do a PCR test? Like, is that protocol? Because that's what you have to understand, because then that gets into that's not medical necessity. Like, right. That's what people have to really look at. You got to really get into what the government is saying is medical necessity. What is if someone has a negative test and they're symptomatic, okay, I can see you doing a PCR for confirmation. But if they have a positive rapid test, why would you do? I mean, unless that's protocol. I don't know. I'm not a clinician, but you have those are the things you need to know.
Well, this is the thing. The government has to step in at some point and create some of these guidelines surrounding that. So the hospital I contract with out in Arizona, they won't accept a rapid COVID test. A lot of the people, even their employees, don't know that. So they're going to get these rapid tests, bringing it back for confirmation that they have COVID. The hospital is then saying, no, we only want a PCR test. So then they have to go back after having that positive rapid and then get PCR tested. So it's not meeting medical necessity at that point either.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So they're not. So that hospital in particular is not accepting the rapid as confirmation of COVID.
Mm. So do they tell them? Well, clearly, I guess not in advance. That
they don't tell them in advance,
yeah.
And they hear from it when they go to employee health with that rapid test.
But that's crazy. They should just tell them this is the test you have to have.
This is the test you have to have. And somebody, I was on a call the other day, and they were doing, because they have like these home tests now, and they told them that they weren't accepting the results from the home test.
Nope, they're not accepting those either.
Mm-mm.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
Like they need to make that real clear, because folks spending money left and right. It's ridiculous.
And a lot of it is employee. I don't want to say employee scams or employee fraud, but if you take a rapid test and your organization accepts it, whether it's accurate or not, or it's a false negative, false positive, whatever, they're paying for up to 10 days off without using your PTO. Some of these hospitals are. So everybody is going out to get COVID tested to get this 10 days off.
Oh, wow.
Wow. They're still doing that?
Yes.
Wow.
It's just open season.
It is. This is a scammer's dream.
This is right. Oh my God. I'm gonna be glued to the OIG page. That's gonna be my.
It's open season for now, but it's getting ready to get.
Look, I don't want to see nobody I know on nobody's list. I'm telling y'all now.
Exactly.
If y'all got some questions or problems, we got resources right here in this Clubhouse on this. Contact somebody to help you. I don't want to see nobody. I'd be like, oh, Lord, I know that person. I don't want to see. There's too many resources out here to help you do this right.
Too many.
Wow.
Hot mess.
So, yeah, I wanted to send hugs all the way over to Pennsylvania.
Because I'm telling you, like Clarice, like for the past, like last weekend it started. I mean, I have been contacted by so many people who have labs, and they have all kinds of questions, and they just need to be taught. So I really want to. I started it, but I really want to create just a basic course when it comes to just like the do's and don'ts of billing, just for the basics. So you have to have some idea. And if you don't know what you're doing, ask somebody or find somebody who does. Then that way, because you can't, it's money out here to be made because people are getting tested. They really are. They are. And that's the whole purpose of it. It is to get people tested. It is to try to get a handle on this disease process, but you have to have, your foundation that you build is just as important as what you do. And a lot of these people, I don't know, like they're out here, like I know people who have not been credentialed by anybody, and they're testing people, waiting to be credentialed and waiting to submit claims. And I'm like, okay, what I tell people is just do Medicare, Medicaid, and HRSA, because at least you had 365 days. But somebody just asked me last night about TRICARE. Well, I looked, and you can look this stuff up. Just look up what is TRICARE's timely filing limit. So TRICARE, I didn't know, is 365 days too. Which kind of makes sense. It's government. But I'm like, but this is what you need to do. Like, you need to go and find out. Like, if somebody says, "Oh, I have Blue Cross Blue Shield," you need to find out what is it. First of all, it's not going to be 365 days. I can tell you that. But you need to Google and look it up to see what exactly that plan's, timely filing limit. And if you're not credentialed, just don't do it.
Right.
Because anything can go wrong with your credentialing application. Anything can, it could be a glitch. You might have to reapply. You might have to appeal. So you don't want to box yourself in.
Right. And I noticed recently there's a lot of TRICARE fraud going on too. That I've seen that coming up.
Oh, I can believe it.
Recently too.
Well, Department of Defense, they waste so much money every year anyway. It's not even funny. First of all, I'm just the amount of money they spend on Viagra a month is enough for me.
Sorry. Wow. Let's see. We got a lot of folks in Clubhouse. Anybody feel want to come up to the stage and introduce yourself, or have questions or issues, or just want to join the conversation? Feel free to come on up. And we have Miss Elizabeth over here on YouTube. She's been dropping the knowledge and sharing the tea. She mentioned she has a sister that's also in CDI, and she's not a coder, and she says she sounds like you.
They don't listen
with the whole diagnosis situation.
They don't want to listen, but they want it. They know they have to have us, but then they don't want to listen to us.
Right, and she said, and it's all going to come back and bite them in the tail.
It is.
Yes.
Because I had a meeting with my boss's boss. I only had one. I noticed I hadn't been invited to any more meetings. I only meet with her. So he has this whole plan. He's not clinical. He's not a coder. He's not anything. He had this whole. He laid this whole thing out. And when I got finished, I said, I just really have to say that is not how any of this works. And when I explained it to him, he says, well, we just want, he said, well, of course we want everyone to be comfortable. I said, no, it's not about comfort. It's about compliance.
Oh, Jesus. I almost got a shout right there.
I've not been invited to any more meetings since.
They're like, no, they want to, no. They like, he would be one to watch.
Exactly.
He would be one to watch.
And if they listen to me, I'll be the one to help you keep your money and get more the right way.
And keep you out of jail.
All you got to do is document the right way, and the government will pay off like a slot machine.
Right. But if your documentation, if it's medically necessary, the documentation shows that it's medically necessary and it's according to protocol and your policies and clinical practice, you're good. Period.
And what we have is what they use. They use a lot of nurse practitioners. This is funny. They use a lot of nurse practitioners, and they're really not. I can tell they're not comfortable with diagnoses because, case in point, I had this happen. It happens all the time. They'll have these review medical history section. They'll check yes for conditions. They'll check yes for vitamin D deficiency because these are mainly renal clients, and a lot of times, renal clients they do have hyperparathyroidism and another anemia in CKD, so that can cause you to be deficient in calcium, vitamin D, and phosphorus. So you have vitamin D deficiency, but they don't diagnose a person with vitamin D deficiency. Or they'll put something in there, but it's not E55.9. That when I clarify, they'll say one provider changed, she added decreased vitamin D as a diagnosis, then put E55.9. Decreased vitamin D is not E55. That is an abnormal lab finding. Damn.
Oh my God.
This is why you don't need them coding.
No.
If you put decreased and then just go back to the medical history section where you put the yes, draw a line through it, and write a little free text something and call it a day.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, yes. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what the young lady said about, some companies giving their workers 10 days off with payment and stuff like that. Well, honey, let me tell you.
Here's some tea. That sounds like tea. Let me grab my tea.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Grab your tea. Because I last year, I'm a nurse at the VA. So when I tell you last year, they pretty much, it was in that range when they made us get tested or, decline due to religious purposes and things of that nature. They gave us 8 weeks to be tested. And at the end of
I was hanging on the
girl, wait up, where did she go? That's a cliffhanger. I feel like you gotta wait till next season. Wait.
Yes.
Mary, you gotta come back.
I feel like it is Friday and we watched the last minute of Dallas.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we'll be waiting for Mary to come back on.
Yes.
Goodness. Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, I love HIM. It's a great field to get into. And there's so many areas of opportunity. Everybody can find their specialty or find something that they really, really like about it. And just drill down and you can have a wonderful career. But you just have, she's back.
You muted, Mary.
Okay, what's the last thing that y'all heard so I know where to pick up at?
Girl, you dropped off and let me tell you, and you were gone.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm back. Well, I ended up the first time my husband tested positive. We were short of nurses, so I was pretty much mandated to, hey, you have to be at work. You're not symptomatic, so you have to be at work. So if anybody knows that has been through COVID, it's hard working with COVID, be it in-house or on your job, So I'm still having to be at work in this mind space, trying to call him and make sure he's okay and having to try to get him food. It just put me in kind of a depressive mode. So with that being said, I had to work those 10 days. I wasn't able to quarantine because I was, asymptomatic. I'm not complaining about that, but I did it. So this time, he comes up positive again around almost a year to the day that he came positive last year. So I'm having to quarantine now for 5 days because the CDC says if your spouse tests positive, you need to quarantine for 5 days and come back to be tested by employee health to get a negative. Okay. I go to employee health early one morning. I said, okay, I work 12 hours. So I said, I have to be there at 11:30. I'll go ahead and go up here at 8, to get that out the way and be able to go home and handle some business before I go back, to work or whatever. Mind you, he has tested negative and has his paperwork that he's negative. So I go to employee health. They were like, so have you been tested? I said, he tested positive Thursday. I came up here because we get tested we get tested twice a week on my job. It's mandatory. So I said, he tested positive Thursday. I was off, but I came up here to get tested. And I tested negative that Friday, the day after. So I said, I've been quarantining. I said, and he has since then tested negative, so I'm coming because this is my 5th day. I'm out of, this is what I was told by my supervisor to come up here this morning. I said, so I'm coming to be tested now by you all. Do you all know they sent me away from there? They said, oh, no, you can't be tested here. They said, because you could very well have it and you could expose everybody else. I said, oh my goodness. So I ended up taking my time. I called in for 2 days because, honey, I ended up with a migraine behind all this mess. I called in for 2 days. I said, okay, since I got to spend my money to be tested and I can easily get it free at my job, I said, I'm going to take my time. So I went yesterday to get tested and they ended up, because I'm still asymptomatic, or whatever, they ended up doing the test that had the send-off. I guess that's a PCR. Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So they ended up, and this is my first time. I felt like it was so much more invasive than the regular swabs that I've been getting. I ended up doing that, and when I tell y'all, it was the worst pain that I have ever encountered from a COVID test. And so now I'm having to wait 24 to 48 hours just to get my results from that. But I'm not being compensated for being off. You're pretty much on your own. And hopefully I'll test negative so I can go back to work on Monday. It's crazy. It is crazy.
It is. That is crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yes, it is. And this is the Tuscaloosa VA, and everybody's like, well, it starts with the administrator. He's the reason we're not paid. So if you catch COVID, you're on your own. If you have time, you can use your time. But, we only getting like 4 hours every 2 weeks or whatever as being full-time employees. So if you don't have any time and you or your family member test positive, you don't get a paycheck.
Yeah, see, both my hospitals, they're doing 10 days for employees that test positive, or if you've been exposed. So it's double, positive or exposed, because they just don't want it at the hospital. And they're paying that out of, the hospital's pocket. It doesn't have to come out of your PTO. Now, this is my second time with COVID. The first time I had a 4-month-old, was still breastfeeding everything. I worked all my days. I didn't take any time off. This time, I'm on this, I think it's day 10, and I'm feeling better, but I still worked. I didn't take any of my time. But, everybody has different COVID symptoms and different levels of what they can do.
I think I know in our area they were allowing that, but when I don't think they offer the you're on your own in most cases with most employers. You're on your own, which is unfortunate, but
it is, especially if you're in healthcare and staying up. You probably got it from work.
Yep.
So
yep.
Very unfortunate.
Yep.
I don't know. It's a mess.
It's a whole hot
and
mess.
it's gonna be a mess for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm out here driving, and I don't know what was reiterated on my end of what y'all said or whatever, but I'm back now. I'm sorry. I'm getting used to this Clubhouse thing. I'm an Android.
But we heard everything that you're waiting now for your PCR results.
Yes, sir.
Well, hopefully everything will be good and you will be able to return back to work.
Yes, ma'am. Me too. But during the time that I was in quarantine, that's really when I was like, you know what? I said I'm going to resort to my home office, and I said because I can still be self-sufficient. So that's when I pretty much it was in the middle of the night came across the Clear Wave, the Clear Wave lab and everything.
Mm.
So, in those 5 days, that's when I went ahead and set up my business and stuff like that. I'm just trying to gain a lot of information so I can do the right thing, to be able to serve my community and be jail free at the same time.
There you go.
I know that's right.
I'm too scared to go to jail.
Jail free.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
I'm following. Thank you for having me. My Sour Patch Kid is up now. So.
You're welcome.
Now, this is a good question on the screen, Clarice.
So we got a comment from LD Napier. It says, good morning, new coder here. How long before you started feeling confident in your coding skills? There's so much information and I overthink everything. Hopefully after a year of working, I will feel like I really know what I'm doing. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's about right. I think about a year because I can honestly say for the first 3 to 6 months, I wasn't confident. I mean, I would do it, but it wasn't like I know it. Like now when I code, it's like, okay, I know that.
Right.
But I would say at least it took me about a good 6 months to a year. And I think a year is a good time. And that's if you consistently work in one area of coding.
Right.
Now, if you move to another area in 3 months, then the clock starts all over.
Right. And then if you have a good employer, that has some additional level of training that assists you in that confidence, in gaining that confidence, I think that will help as well.
Right. What do you think?
I said, I agree.
Oh, okay.
No, I agree. And like I said, it helps with, your employer, because it's one thing to come out of an academic perspective and understanding coding, and it's some whole different with the whole real world perspective. So getting a good employer that provides resources into their coding staff with training and continuing education and all of those things helps build your confidence and helps build your strength in your coding career.
Exactly.
Hi, Sharon. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, how you doing?
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Oh, same to you guys. I just want to drop by and say hello. I was just listening.
Oh, okay.
And I also want to make a comment too. You
Okay.
learn from your mistakes, so don't be afraid to make mistakes because you really do learn from them.
That's right.
true.
And we all make them. We all make them and learn from them. We do.
Because once you make them, you always remember the next time.
Yep.
I still remember some of my QA audits.
And I used to laugh. I was on a project for the VA years ago. This was years ago. And people were so nervous because they had a person come in to provide those QA audits, and they were like up in arms. And I was like, no, you want that feedback. You want to know, your strengths or your weaknesses. You want that. They were just like, oh my God, I don't want to know. I think I'm going to do something wrong, or this is going to be wrong. And I was like, no, you want to know. Because at that point, they, again, I'm dating myself. This is before they actually had coders on the outpatient side. And so it was a whole contract that they were working on because they realized that they had veterans that not only had like TRICARE, but they also had outside insurance. And so they wanted to bill for their outside insurance. Well, the VA, they were years ago, real loosey-goosey with documentation. And so they had to learn, y'all got to document. Y'all can't just have the people showing up and y'all treat them and they have a heart procedure for $230 and everything is good. No, y'all gonna play this game. Y'all got to play this game right. And so, we were trying to get them to understand what's necessary and provide the coding services for them as well. And so they had an outside QA person come in and kind of look over the work that we did for them. And so they were all nervous, like, oh my God. And I was like, no, you need that. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
It is.
Any additional questions or concerns or... Look, I got marching orders. I got information. This week I got orders, so I got stuff I got to do. I got my friend over there gives me stuff every week, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, I don't need to go into any coding groups this week. I got marching orders, and we got to get together so we can pull. Don't be surprised when y'all see our whole business conglomerate spanning coast to coast. I'm speaking it into existence.
Exactly. And to all of the coding students in the room or anybody who's even interested, I'm telling you, this is the room you want to be a part of, because I'm telling you, like no other place in coding that I know of do they really keep it this real? I mean, do you, Clarice? I don't.
Like you said, it's surface. Nobody digs deeper because you got to understand this game to play it and play it well.
So Jesse, you really just scared me this morning about the CDI position because I was really looking into that, but I don't know now.
It might. Here's what I'll say, Sharon. If it's a place that already has a CDI person and you're either replacing them or coming in addition, that's fine. This company, they didn't have. I mean, everything I have created, I've already written policy. They had no policy. Look, their query policy was two bullet points. So I had to draft that up, and it still hasn't been approved, hasn't been looked at by anybody other than my manager. It hasn't been submitted to. I don't even know who the compliance department people are. How do you have a CDI person who doesn't even know who the compliance people are? We have never met.
Right.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So it's because they want to do what they want to do, and that's fine. And I'm gonna allow them to do everything they want to do. I just won't be a part of it.
Right.
Because I can, just like I know I've told this story a gazillion times. I'm gonna tell it a gazillion more times. Because 3 years ago, I knew Oak Street Health was traveling down a path they didn't want to go down. 3 years, almost to the date that I left, they're being now investigated by the Department of Justice for false claims.
Yeah,
I knew.
Yep.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
So the government will get you.
Mm-hmm.
They will get you.
So, is there any particular program that you think is good to take to look into coding or get into coding?
All I will say, from my opinion, is any place that's going to teach you the coding guidelines and teach you how to code, not just have you answer practice questions. You have to learn how to think as a coder. You have to learn how to break down situations. You have to learn how to break down notes. You have to break down procedures to find out what it is you need to code.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. You're absolutely right. There's
opinion.
a whole bunch of that extra step of independently thinking through what the scenario is. So it's one thing to just easily, let me pull this, but you have to be able to strategically think about what is being asked of you.
Okay. Now I understand why, like when you take off and use your Aflac and it takes forever for you to get your paperwork back. Now I understand why.
And a lot of coders, especially a lot of new coders, they don't realize that just because you might get a credential, when you go to apply for jobs, those jobs will give you tests as well. And you have to pass the test. It doesn't matter. You could have 17 credentials. If you don't pass their coding assessment, you're not employable.
That's right.
Gotcha.
That's right. Okay. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining the Saturday morning tea. I gotta ask, was the tea spilled today? I believe it was.
So. It was good today.
It was spilled today. If this information was valuable for you, help us share this message with others by, if you're on YouTube, by liking the video, sharing the video, and subscribing to the channel. You can also check out the Coding Nurse channel on YouTube. And last but not least, to my Clubhouse folks, don't forget to click the green house to join the fun in our club, and you will get notified of our live broadcast. We are usually here every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Again, this has been a great session today. Thank you all.
Before you close out,
yes,
can I say one thing?
Come on.
Mary, we see that now that Clarice she knows compliance, she knows billing, she knows coding. Pass her name around. Clarice, you're gonna be interested.
Okay.
It'll be a nice little sideline cut for you.
Okay.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate you telling me that. I actually and it's all God, because I woke up with the clear stuff on my mind and I laid down with it on my mind. So I get this ding when I get this this confirmation. So I've already hit the little whatever I need to hit to be notified whenever y'all are on. So I woke up with it. I woke up with sleep in my eyes, baby. I was like, oh yeah, this is good. So I chimed in, and I'm actually out right now. But yeah, thank you. I'll definitely be in touch with you all when the need arises.
All right.
As I feel.
Cool. And let's see, we got LD Napier said, my 2 cents, you need an instructor. I did the AAPC online and it wasn't that great. I've heard that before, especially when they don't have somebody that they can bounce their questions off of. It makes it difficult if they're doing it solo.
I'm glad LD Napier said it, because I feel the same way, but I get tired of saying it.
I've heard it several times. And then I get people who come to me and then it's like, I have to retrain you because
me too. Yeah.
It's like I gotta retrain,
Can't call out not one guideline.
Not one.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Was there anything else you had, Jesse, before I close out for the day? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for creating this space. You were the matriarch. You had the vision, and I'm just so glad I can be a part of it. And I'm glad that we are impacting our community and empowering our people.
I am too. This is great. I love it.
So thank you for noticing me.
Yes, definitely. So thank you all for joining, and remember to be safe, be kind, and don't wish for it, work for it. Until next week, take care, and we will
have a good day.
Talk soon. You too.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.